Okay, so we are live. This is the virtual classroom from March 31st. Man, where did March go? I can't believe we're already at the end of the month here. But yeah, maybe I should do an April Fool's joke tomorrow for a stream. But yeah, here we are. I'm going to talk a little bit about my current.
What? Cool.
Okay, let me just mute all. Perfect. Current sentiment in the space, and then we'll dive into peer review charts and take a look at some of the assets that you guys are most curious about. So without any further ado, let me share my screen here. And let's take a look. Let's just take a look at this actually. So this was very interesting. You know, you can look at these types of comparisons two different ways. You know, when we compare the mid caps and altcoins compared to the shit coins, it's clear that the performer is shit coins. Now, you can look at this as it is lacking in performance, or sorry, that these are lacking in performance, or you can look at them as they have just accumulated a higher breakout. I think that shit coins can be approached cautiously in this market, you know, with position sizing being your most effective way of limiting risk. And doing a lot of research. Do a lot of research, more than you're used to on the shit coins. Listen, the technical setups work great on high liquid assets, highly liquid assets. If you're going to buy a very small asset, you need to really lean on sentiment. How easy is the story to kind of get behind? Is it an easy to understand story? Are a lot of new investors going to want to buy that speculation? What does the team look like? You know, just go ahead and take a look at the team. This is really getting into like the white paper and team and stuff that I don't really focus on. But when you don't have A, price history, and B, liquidity, you do have to lean into other areas. Technical setups work so much better on higher cap coins. Not only for your ability to determine possible direction, but also on your ability to handle volatility and understand where support levels are. Trying to understand where a support level is on these really speculative coins, you don't know where the support level is. So it's very hard to get into them. So focus a little bit more on the fundamentals and the hype and how early you are to, again, you know, the only reason I'm entertaining this discussion is because I know there's such an appetite, not only in the space as a whole, but also my group. And that's fine. I just want you to kind of understand ways that you can help to mitigate risk when playing with these really speculative assets. Understand the key of the word, speculation. Nobody knows. Everybody's just guessing. Nobody knows. Everybody is just guessing. There's often no products. It's before their mainnet launch. They just have a lot of stuff on paper. They've got a nice roadmap. They got nice looking LinkedIn profiles. So speculations need to be treated as though they are short-term, get in, get out. And when I say get out, I mean eliminate the risk that you're holding in that immediately, as soon as possible. If you 3x in a speculative asset, that is a huge success. Leave your initial, take your other two. Leave your initial, take your other two, and either go put it in something like a growth asset, or you know, something like Bitcoin to kind of just safe haven it until you're ready for a better setup, or Tether. It's up to you. But yeah, you know, don't get caught in the mindset of, well, if this reaches this market cap and I hold the entire position till the end, I'll be a millionaire. Don't ever count your eggs before they hatch. Don't look into the future. Okay. Focus more on the downside risk and the money will come. If you think about the possibilities of holding and waiting for certain price targets that are unrealistic to become achieved, you're going to lose. Statistically speaking, you are going to lose. There's obviously winners. There's obviously luck involved. And that's a factor that you can definitely play with. But if you want to be consistent and you want to build wealth, building wealth is accumulating assets. If you want to build wealth, you need to think a little bit more short term. And if you 3x something, woo, great. Take the two out, leave the last one because you no longer care. So just be mindful of that and never, appreciate a lot of gains. Like let's say from that point at 40x's, do not ever punish yourself for pulling those profits out and saying, oh, well, I could have had this much or I could have had that much. Yeah, but it would have been stupid. Play it smart and appreciate the wins for what they are. Okay, so that's a little bit of a mindset. Real quick on Bitcoin, we're pushing the 59,000. We want to get above the 60. We got to break this. We look like we want to break out. It looks like it wants to break out here. If I go really short term, we can even go with just a very short term channel right here. It looks like it wants to go. We're definitely we're squeezing. You know what? Let's show it as a squeeze. Let me get rid of these drawings. We're squeezing. I don't do too many patterns, but it's pretty clear that we're squeezing here. So, where do we go next? Maybe we just go up to 64, something like that, and come back down. I don't know. But we look like we want to break out, and this is the more important level to make note of. It's right here. We're wanting to break out. If we can get above this high, this is the resistance here, but if we can get above this high, I think we're off to the races, and it won't be long before we can see some nice price appreciation. And I do think that Bitcoin's going to continue to lead. Bitcoin has kind of been the leader thus far. When Bitcoin moves, it allows the market to participate with higher speculation, and they start to invest. They start to loosen up their capital a little bit more and feel okay with injecting new capital into the system because, oh, Bitcoin's moved, we're still going up. And that's going to continue until we get to the point where altcoins start to lead. And until Ethereum can start outperforming Bitcoin, I don't think we're going to see that. So we still got a few months, provided this market remains in the same condition. Okay, that is that. Let's go into Discord. Boom. Okay, and let's back it up a little bit. Okay, we were looking at that one. We dissected those. A little confused by the indicator. Okay, good. Beat sounds. Right on. Okay, so buyer's climax, seller's climax, automatic rally. Okay, yeah, that's fine. I'll let it slide. We all label differently. I understand what you're saying. So it's that 1, 2, 3. That's what you're looking for at the beginning of any trading range. 1, 2, 3. So buyer's climax, seller's climax, automatic rally, test, spring. So here's the thing. Here's what I'm noticing in the volume, which would have really thrown me because it does look like we're kind of marking up a little bit. Like I see what you mean with backup question mark. So buyer's climax, seller's climax, automatic rally, secondary test, spring. I don't think it's a spring because we had a ton of supply enter. So there's like this signature here, this signature here, this signature here. What are these signatures doing? This feels like supply. It was demand up until this point, and then this final little bit was supply as we were pushed back down here, indicating a downtrend, which you've identified correctly. Beautiful. And then we broke out of that. So we had demand and we had supply, a lot of supply. The supply was the conclusion because it resulted in a downside move. And you can see it's a huge out of the normal amount of volume that came in the form of supply dominant. Then we kind of tracked up. We had a breakout, a squeeze out. We didn't even have a breakout. We just kind of had a squeeze out that kind of there was no reaction, no market participation, but the demand was building. And then we got to the top of the channel and the supply came in, okay? Then we came down to an LPS, huge demand. So something's going on here. It's right around the point of control. It's also the level of the previous up thrust. So where this candle closed, you can see that lined up with this LPS. So we're making higher highs. We've confirmed we have a high here. We confirmed another high here, and we have a low and a higher low. And we confirmed an SR flip between these 2 points. Let me go to BTT and show you what I mean. You are on the 1 hour. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, you could get your backup. You could get your backup. I see why you put the Heikin-Ashi on. It's pretty illiquid. So let's draw the range. Let's go with something like that. Okay, I just went with the close here on this reaction, and then we kind of fell through again. Yeah, you know, we had our sign of strength, we came below, and then we just broke out. Now you got a lot of demand coming in here. You can see this was a huge demand tail. That means most of this candle was on the demand side. We got a nice bullish close on that, and that really projected this thing out. I think we do get a backup. I think we do get a backup, but you would be looking at it on a range. So we can go from the top of the previous little sign of strength high all the way down to even this. So this is, you know, not super helpful because I haven't narrowed it in, but this is kind of our range. This is where we want to land. So look for us to land on top of here as a potential, as a very bullish potential. You wouldn't just take a position here. You would wait for the turn on this. Or, you know, we head down to lower levels and we kind of get something in this area before we take off. I still think that it's kind of slower. I don't know what's going on with BitTorrent or what, but I guess this is the 1 hour. It's not even slow. Let's see what's going on the 4 hour. Okay, so we're actually heating up quite a bit. So this would be an aggressive trade. You need to have an aggressive plan to go along with this trade. Consider it very bullish. So look, maybe scale in at this point here. If you get a touch at the top of the box, you could take a bit of a position with anticipation of lower levels. And if those lower levels don't come, you could buy a breakout of the high. But yeah, it's definitely heating up. So just be aware. And how I would trade that is I would still wait for a pullback, you know. And I don't know if I would take a large position at this time in the market just because Bitcoin is at such a decision point. I would definitely, you know, approach it as a probe position. Even if you end up buying a bulk of your position at higher levels, it's just Bitcoin really needs to make up its mind as to what it's going to do. Because if we do get a rejection, it's going to scare people. And if we get a rejection at this level here, you know, we are squeezing, but we have room to the downside. So, you know, if we get that downside move, that's going to be your pullback. That's going to be your pullback. That's going to be your opportunity to take a decent position. But understand that we're at a macro resistance for the market as a whole. And if we do get rejected at these significant levels, it'll be nasty. Like if we break down here and it doesn't hold, Bitcoin's probably going to head down to $42,000. And that's going to be a huge shakeout. So, you know, I'm not trying to scare anybody because the trend is your friend and we're making higher highs and higher lows. But right now we're trying to make a new higher high. And if we can't, and we curl over and we make a new lower low, then, you know, bearishness is going to come in and we're going to have to hold some we're going to struggle to hold support, long story short. So as far as new positions right now, I'm being very apprehensive. I'm sure a lot of you have noticed the lack of posting. You know, the posting from me in VIP charts and setups, it very much so ebbs and flows because I do not want to post something at an inappropriate time. I think that some of the assets that I am posting, some of the larger cap stuff is doing well, but it's not immune to a drawdown. So my posting has slowed because I think that this is not necessarily the time for new positions, brand new positions. So if you're just entering the market, understand, you know, how to read a chart, make sure that you are up to date with your analysis and kind of how to identify support and resistance, and don't just feel that you have to jump in right away. and understand that oftentimes when you wait for confirmation, you're going to be much more successful. Waiting for confirmation and waiting for big dump days. Like if Bitcoin starts to really collapse beyond 42,000, I'm going hard. I'm going hard. We're still at that point. We are still at that point. I know I've said I wasn't adding new capital, but I still think we're kind of at the point where it's okay to do so. That's just my personal sentiment. There's also the possibility that we do have a repeat of the 2013 cycle. So if we go to the BLX, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this already, but I will just revisit it. If we go to the log chart, and we go back to 2013, we had a two-wave cycle. So maybe we're here, you know, and we're ready to mark up, and we would be marking up, you know, Jesus, no, we're not expecting 400%, but you know, maybe we're somewhere here before a big breakout, but then there's going to be a huge correction, and then a 6-month bear market, you know, bear market. This is not off the table. Now, I don't put a lot of value on comparing cycles because there aren't that many cycles to compare. And realistically, you really got to take a step back. It's easy to get lost in the TA. TA is a tool to help you make decisions. It's not a crystal ball that helps you predict directions. And at the end of the day, these are just monkeys buying and selling bananas, and that's it. You know, there's no rhyme or reason. There's no necessary cause to make the bar go up other than somebody willing to pay a higher price than the current price, than the price is currently. That's what makes a price go up. If I can't fill an order on Bitcoin at 582.95, I'm forced to put in an order at 583 because my order will be filled. And then somebody else comes and they need to, their order won't get filled at 583. So they got to go at 585 or 586. Like this price right here is what decides the price of Bitcoin. It's not, you know, so understanding that basic fundamental approach to these candles will help you realize that it is random. It's structured, but it's, you know, and these cycles can rhyme, but it's also random. So you kind of need to develop your trading plan to never overexpose yourself to any particular direction. And right now, you know, we're curling. So we definitely need to break out. We're poised for a breakout. It looks like we can break out, but if we don't, we're going to break down. And if we break down, it may even go for a lower low than this macro low. That would be crazy, but it could absolutely happen, and we find support down at 20,000. Now that's super crazy, super bearish, and nothing should ever be strategized for those types of levels. But I'm just saying, you know, on the macro, we have a macro high. So if we don't just keep climbing, we don't just break out from here, we have to come down to some level first. And we don't know what that's going to be. So new positions, I'm very apprehensive right now. And if I do have a new position, I buy it on a day where it is scary. Today is not a scary day. Today is relatively neutral / kind of nice day. We have some winners, we have some losers. Wait for the market dump. I think that because this is taking longer than I wanted to explain, but here's another way of looking at it. If we break up here, if we break out, you are going to be aware of the breakout. You are going to be aware of the breakout, and you will now have confirmation that the space will continue to be bullish. When the space continues to be bullish, you can take new positions because you're at the beginning of a confirmation of a continuation of bullishness. Now, if it doesn't, it will break down. And if it breaks down, that will present a buying opportunity inside of the value zone, because macro, I don't think we're done. Macro, I think that this cycle will continue. So, you know, understanding that even if you buy at a higher level, after confirmation that the space is bullish and we're going to continue to be bullish for the next extension, is far better than then, you know, buying in now, trying to front run that idea and losing a lot of your position as a result of that in a drawdown. And then you're not liquid and you're not able to capitalize on the buying opportunity. So new positions, be very careful right now. Just be very careful on new positions. Let's see what's going on with the chat. Missed Twitch getting some silver. Nice. How do you custody that stuff? Did you guys know about Tether Gold? I'm going to have everything digital assets. If I want to buy gold, I'm going to buy Tether Gold. I keep my gold on a ledger. Have faith in crypto. No, it's good to have physical. It's good to have physical. Don't forget the physical. Okay, so yeah, I agree with this chart. It looks great. You have a good amount of analysis as far as the signals are concerned. It's the supply that we're seeing in the volume that's kind of confusing and indicating that there's a potential for a backup to come in. And now when we're looking at the today's candles, we can see that curling over. So I would assume that, a backup may come in. Okay, standard practice had some confusion on where to exactly draw the top of the range on the charts like these, hoping for some help and clarity. So there isn't a wrong way, but what you have done, I agree with entirely. This is a huge blow off, and it's not necessarily the change of character. So that's a big thing to kind of note, is the change of character. Where did the characteristics of the candles change? Where was that change? Here was part of the preliminary supply. We had a huge run up, and a huge slam back down, a big, ton of selling pressure coming in. That is preliminary supply. And then the candles started to close at higher levels. So this is the buyer's climax. You chose it correctly. This is the automatic reaction. I differentiate the two, but it's okay. They're just, signals. And then we have our rally. You've identified the creek as a downward sloping line of resistance. Very good. Okay, is the top of the trading range here, or is this the creek? So the creek can take many forms. In this scenario, it would be a down sloping line. Sometimes you see me draw the creek, which is where it's usually the longer term accumulations where I kind of draw the creek out and kind of at the very end when it jumps the creek, I take a down route and I take an up route and I kind of like split it up like that. Let me show you what I mean. So if I'm on, Bitcoin here, it's not a very good example, but we're going along the highs and then there's a down route and then there's kind of like a different trajectory. So if we broke out here, we would probably, breakout, test, and there's kind of like two creek lines that you can draw when you're drawing them manually. Now, if you're not drawing them manually, what you would do is do what you did, which is draw either an SR flip area or a, let's go to band, take a look at band. No, let's take a look at what's got a good structure for this example. There we go, Ave. So here on the creek, you can just do a straight line, okay? And I even have a label for creek, so I can make it creek. And you can do a straight line, or the other option, so there's three ways that I draw the creek, is just with that SR flip. So identifying where the resistance is. Just got a couple latecomers coming in. So identifying where that resistance is and, drawing that as the creek as well. So you can also just, there's several ways to do it, and every structure is going to be a little bit different. So if you have that clear squeeze, that consolidation, like a lot of triangle patterns will be, a lot of pattern traders will be drawing triangle on, then maybe your creek line is just that straight line. If you are kind of having a reaccumulation after decline where it draws down a significant amount and then we're waiting for that curl up, maybe the creek line is this horizontal bit of resistance, that can be the creek. And then if it's just kind of a more nuanced structure that's ebbing and flowing in between a trading range, then you can just manually draw the creek as well to kind of give you an idea. And you can see the break, you can see the jump across the creek in the volume. At the creek jump, Okay, the creek jump is actually a very important thing to really understand. Let me find a good example. Actually, I think Monero has a good example. Speak of the devil. Really liking Monero, honestly. I kind of want to mine Monero. Definitely going to take a large, I'm thinking about a relatively good position in Monero. I think it's not too late. Is Monero a good? Okay, let me go to a smaller time frame. Let me show you what I've got here. So I had this creek drawn. I did this on stream today. And this is a hand-drawn creek. Let me just erase this so that we can, let's do it again. Okay, just because, you know, you could do the creek a few different ways, but I think because there's just an inconsistency to the peaks, the easiest way for me to draw this creek is with a is just with my pencil. That's another thing, is I have a pencil, which is very nice. And you just kind of look for that natural flow to the line, and then when you find that natural flow, I just decrease the velocity of that flow. So I was flowing down here, so I kept that curvature of the flow to meet up with this area. And then when I got back here, I just kind of went flat and just decreased the curvature. I hope that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. It's an art, not a science. All of TA is an art, not a science. Because realistically, you know, we're just drawing lines on a chart. Most people buying, you know, especially the retail, they're not looking at charts. They're looking at prices and watching the price go up. So when we draw the creek line here, you know, we can see our first real green bar, and that came on volume. We got the volume confirmation here. You need to see that volume confirmation on the jump across the creek, because that is your first hint that demand is taking over. When we are looking at this consolidation, when we're looking at the consolidation of the volume, you know, we're watching that decrease occur in the volume. The decrease in the volume at the beginning of a consolidation range is the supply being worked out. You know, you're having those sellers, you're giving the sellers the opportunity to sell. The people that bought in too high and can't handle the volatility are going to sell. These are all of the factors of supply. You need to work out the supply. Once the supply has been worked out, now we're looking for hints. We're looking for clues to allow the demand to take over. So, you know, volume is very interpretive and every scenario is different, but as long as you approach the volume with that question that we always ask, what is going on here? What is the effort being applied to this asset resulting in? What is the effort being applied to this asset resulting in? That's really going to help you kind of interpret if the increase in volume is coming from supply or the increase in volume is coming from demand. So we had that consolidation of the supply here. Then we got to the area of the jump across the creek. So we had a nice green bar here. Let me get my highlighter tool. Nice green bar here. And that came on high volume. Okay, so that's demand. It's pretty clear that the supply has been exhausted and that demand is coming in. We came in for a test. The test came on lower volume, and then we got a nice rally here. You can see the rally, and then the demand is starting to increase. You know, it's subtle, but it's above the average previous to that move, previous to the jump across the creek. So the next move, if we continue up, should come on increased volume. It should come on increased demand. When we get to the top of the range here, when we get to the top of the range here, what is going to be our assumption? Our assumption is going to be that supply is entering because we're meeting an area of significant resistance. So as we meet here, we're going to just have the assumption that there is going to be supply that enters. And that's going to be our first test. So we're going to see how much supply enters. If it's a weak test, if there is not a lot of supply that comes in, then we're looking very good. If a ton of supply comes in, we're going to retrace. We're going to react back down to test the creek line again, any level of the creek line. If we break out past that point and start closing candle bodies above, then we need to watch that test and see if it's coming on low supply. We want to make sure that we land on an area of support with low supply, showing that there's, you know, not a lot of selling occurring. And then if we can start to leave that consolidation, leave that backup on an ease of movement, showing low volume, but the price just keeps ticking up, we're looking really good. So when we get those confirmations, you know, that's what we're looking for. That's kind of a way for you to dissect the volume a little bit better. It's not, you know, it takes time. It takes time, but volume honestly will become your favorite indicator. Looking at the price and volume together will become your favorite way to look at these charts. It's just, you understand so much of the fundamentals and you can front run sentiment, which is pretty crazy. Okay, back into this. So with mana, this is the creek. Yes, we broke the creek. We got the demand, but this was just, you know, this could be premature. This could be premature because overall the volume is still falling off. You see how this level back here is pretty equal to this level over here. So the demand hasn't changed. The supply is being worked out, but the demand hasn't changed. And you know, this could end up being an up thrust. We've rejected here. We didn't get the follow through. Wait for it to come back down. I would say that this comes back down and tests. What's mana doing right now? It's probably already testing. I don't know why I didn't just chart mana. Yeah, so it looks like we want to come back down and test. So you got two ways of looking at the creek here. Like you had it. Creek, something like this. I kind of go with the points that are a little closer to the original consolidation. And then we also have the area of the breakout. So we broke out here and we tested here. So there's like an SR flip somewhere in here. We can get that with confluence of the previous rejection. So somewhere in here is our support level. So we broke out, we're looking to find support somewhere around $1, which makes a lot of psychological sense that we will find support around $1. We may wick down below, and that's going to be the market confirmation. I love it with the big evens because even retail gets behind that. You know, retail will just refresh coin market cap and they're just looking, oh, we're below $1. We're below $1. Oh, we're holding above $1. Yes, $1 is holding, and now, you know, they jump, they keep going in. So yeah, you know, we're gonna have to wait and see. We need demand to come back in. So demand still hasn't entered. We're still testing. We're still testing and we're working out the supply, and we need demand to take back over. Keep in mind too, big rally here, big rally. You know, all of the NFT stuff has had a huge rally. What comes with a huge rally is a huge reaccumulation. So be aware of a double top here. I would be, you know, considering where have we last tested support. We last tested support. Let's take a look at some of these SR flips. So we had a breakout around here. So we kind of last tested support down here. This was, we hit resistance, came down, hit resistance again, broke out, tested as support, and then took off for a really big move. So, you know, we could still retrace a huge amount. Be careful. Be careful with mana. Don't make your position size wreck you. If you want to take risk on it, again, we're at a point, you know, and we're seeing the lull. We're seeing the lull in the market. Nothing's really, you know, you have these weird coins that just pump, but the market overall is not pumping. We don't have that large momentum in the market right now. So when in doubt, wait it out. You know, you don't need to trade every day. You can build cash positions. A flat position is a position. You can really up your game considerably if you reach those points of indecision in the market where it's like, well, I don't have the confirmation of bullish continuation, and there are plenty of downside targets in the event of a retracement. Take profit, build your cash position so that you're ready. If you're wrong, it's okay. You can scale in at higher levels. But if you're right, man, are you going to be happy? Man, are you going to be happy that you built that position? So don't discount cash. Don't discount Tether. Okay. My art is top tier. Thank you. Do you pay attention to volume for BTC's decision point on lower timeframes to give clues? No. Because, a decision point will be hard to determine with the volume. You need the move. You need the move, and you need to see how the volume reacts on that move. So right now, like, the volume is giving us nothing when we look at Bitcoin here. Like, if we go down to smaller time frames, like what you're probably referring to is an ease of movement. Trying to get confirmation of an ease of movement. But look at this. It's all over the map. It's all over the map on the lower time frames. So, what is this signature doing? What is this signature doing? What is this signature doing? What is this doing? So when we line it up, this is supply. It was demand on the front end, but then it was supply. We were just chopping. We had a lot of demand and a lot of supply, actually, because we were going sideways. We just saw increased effort being applied at this level here. So what's this one? This is supply as well. So we're seeing supply enter. What's this one? Supply. What's this one? Demand. And this is where we took our entries, actually. Is it? No. Where was that? It's down there. Was it? It's a few days ago. Yeah, it was the 28th. Yeah. So wait, no, that's February. It was here. Okay. Yeah, it was back here. That's where we took. The smaller timeframes are smaller timeframes. There's a better story to be told on the bigger timeframes. So I pay attention to that story. A small time frame can help you gain entry when you have confirmation and you have a plan. Right now, we don't have a plan because we're at an inflection point. We need to make a decision. So we look primed for a breakout. You can see that there's more aggressive gains on the lows than there is on the highs. So this could almost be argued that it's a symmetrical triangle, an ascending triangle. So for our pattern traders out there, we had an up thrust, and then we're getting that squeeze. And this squeeze actually, no, yeah, let's just keep it simple. We're getting that squeeze here. So this is it's a nice squeeze. It's a bullish squeeze. So, we're in an uptrend. We have a bullish squeeze. There's, bullish things that are occurring in the space, like so much adoption. Like we're definitely in a bull market. It's just, we really don't want to break down. And I'm leaning and I'm positioning myself and I'm formulating my strategies around the fact that we are going to break out. So, but that doesn't mean that I'm adding to altcoins right now. I'm not doing anything with my positions right now. I'm not selling. I have my cash position. I'm set if we take a retracement to the downside. And in the event that my cash position needs to be used, it will be used at higher levels. Okay. Okay, so frequently mentioned that the plan is to move your altcoin profits into BTC, then into USDT, or USDC. It's going to be a stable coin. What do you do for alt season? I heard that happens after BTC reaches a high and then starts to decline. Are you planning mostly to be in USDT? Well, when we get close to the top, which is, we can't call the top, we won't call the top. It's just better to wait for confirmation. I was watching, I don't know if a lot of you guys caught that how to scale out of a bull market video that look what Bitcoin did, or what Bitcoin did with Willy Woo. But he made some very valuable points, especially in the futures markets being so liquid. You can really get some very effective hedges this cycle. So, you can open up, you can wait for confirmation and be on the other side, because the futures markets are so liquid. You can kind of create this highly liquid Bitcoin on a futures market. And we'll get into strategy when we get there. We're not there yet. But when I talk about harvesting profits, what I mean is I will have my altcoin plays, the speculative plays. If I feel like the market's getting really hot, I will probably next to close my entire speculative play positions and move those into the growth, because the growth ones are really going to do well at the end of the bull market anyways, because they're so accessible. There's so much infrastructure built around people being able to buy those assets. So I'm not going to, be greedy on those, and those are very liquid. And then I'm going to harvest profits from those into Bitcoin. And, trying to time, here's the thing. The top is insane. The top is insane. And it's going to be very hard for any of us, including myself, and even veterans that have been in this space since 2013, 2011. Like, it's the top is freaking insane. So you need to just have kind of, okay, I'm happy with that amount in mind, and kind of, position yourself and sell when you're happy. Don't get caught in the euphoria, and really have a plan on how you want to realize a lot of those gains, because Bitcoin went from $6,000 to $20,000 in a matter of 2 weeks, which is ridiculous. And the amount of euphoria that you feel in those conditions is also equally as crazy. You gotta have a plan. And if your plan is to wait for the top, your plan is to give up. Like, the top came in on Bitcoin. Where did we react to? Oh, here's Bitcoin. Let me just zoom out. Where did we react to? Oh, FTX is new. Okay, let me just zoom in here. From the top, and even before the top, like, look at this insanity. We went from nearly $20,000, and we swung down to a low of $16,000. Then we swung back up to our all-time high peak at $20,000, and then we went back down again in a matter of 1 week down to $10,000. So when I say wait for confirmation and give up the top, the confirmation came down at a 50% retracement from the top, from 20 to 10. The only way you're going to catch the top is if you have a plan on where you are going to sell and you are going to sell. You won't catch the top. My plan is to sell some into strength, especially the altcoins, sell the altcoins into strength, and, transition them into Bitcoin. And I'm going to try and determine how I want to hedge with Bitcoin, if I'm going to do it at 1x leverage short contracts, or if I'm going to be doing options contracts. I'm kind of doing a bunch of research on hedging right now, because there's many different ways to approach it. But either which way, it's going to be crazy. And I want to make sure that I have confirmation, because it's also going to feel crazy way back here. You might get an extension here, and this feels insane. You might get an extension back here, and this felt insane. So, we have to just have points in the market where we are going to sell, and that's my plan. I have points in the market where I'm going to sell. I'm going to sell some at 100. I'm going to sell some at 200. I know my plan is a little crazy. I'm going to take it level by level and make observations along the way. And then my top sell target is 300. And if we go to 900 beyond that point, I will also still have a position, because the final position, I'm going to sell on the other side. I'm going to sell on the other side. And I'm not even saying, I'm not even saying that we're going to go that high at all. It's really unrealistic to think that we're going to get anywhere near $1 million this cycle, but I do have pretty high targets. The most bullish in my mind is 300,000. So that's kind of, I'm going to wait for the confirmation. Again, it's Wyckoff. I can sell into strength, and I can realize gains, and I can be happy with what I made. And then I'm going to have a position that I sell once we've confirmed, once we've had that confirmation, because there was a pretty good recovery here. we had a pretty good recovery. So there's opportunities to sell into strength, even on the other side. If you don't do it though, you head down, but that's kind of the plan right now. So your question is more, what do you do for alt season? They usually peak after Bitcoin peaks. So alt season, if we break above $100,000, you do not need to worry about alt season. Alt season will be very, very already in motion. And if your strategy is to try and time the peak of you selling your altcoins after the Bitcoin peak, I mean, you can hold positions, and have positions that you sell into strength, and then have positions that you wait for the confirmation, because you're right, the altcoins rallied after the Bitcoin peak. And the biggest gains that we're seeing in the market are at the top. They're always at the top. It is such a mind game, okay? I'm going to have positions in altcoins after the Bitcoin peak, just like I'm going to have Bitcoin in a position after the Bitcoin peak, but I'm going to be selling into strength on the way up as well. I'm going to be harvesting profits on the way up as well. If you want to wait for your entire portfolio to get that confirmation, you're playing a dangerous game, but you also are playing a game where you can accidentally realize some of the top gains that will be around. Yeah. So do you keep some in alts for alt season? Alt season is long. Alt season is when Bitcoin dominance is breaking down, and that's going to happen well before. That's going to happen well before we're at the peak. I think this next extension, especially when Bitcoin gets above $100,000, when Bitcoin goes above and commits above, finds support on top of $100,000 and starts to rip, that's going to be altcoin season. That's going to be the mania phase and you're going to make a lot of money if that occurs. If that occurs, you do not need to worry about timing the tippity top, because you will be pretty happy with the gains. I'm more so worried about the members that join after that. And that's kind of a sticky situation for me, because my advice is basically drilling home the fact that a lot of those people are going to be too late. But it's the ebbs and flows in the market. I'm going to do my best to try and guide them and help them understand that, we're not in a very good place for new investors. And anyways, I don't even know how I'm going to handle that, but I'm not worried about anybody in the group right now making money from my own bullish sentiment in the space on where we are right now. I could be wrong. I'm just some guy on the internet. But based on what I'm seeing in the cyclical nature and what I'm seeing in the adoption rate of real world applications of blockchain and the offerings here and there, I just don't think that we're done yet. And I also think that we're in a point where you have a good amount of upside room ahead of you. So, trying to time the market down to the day should not be your priority. And your priority should be how you're going to manage and lock in assets, how you are going to lock in profits in preparation to improve your life, make yourself a better, happier person in the real life, whether that's, paying off a mortgage or paying off your debts or whatever that may be, and then preparing yourself for the next cycle. So, and that's, a 3-year venture. So yeah, that's, you're not going to time it. Don't try. Okay. Love some feedback on this retrospective study on NEO. Preliminary supply, buyer's climax, good. Automatic reaction, preliminary supply acting as resistance. Very good observation. I like that. Creek line, yes, you can see the jump across the creek came on volume, increased demand on the exit, sign of strength, low demand or low supply on the test. Demand really went away though, which is very interesting. It really went away. So we had a rally and the rally kind of just failed after that. So yeah, kind of good retrospective analysis on NEO. Good job. And then what do we have here? It's still NEO. Yeah, we just kept going down. Major sign of weakness. I still think it's early in phase A. I think that might have been like a shakeout. The last point is, oh, so you're calling distribution here. Yeah, I guess. Yep. I mean, we did head down. So volume on the last point of supply as we hit the top of the channel. Good. Yeah. I think where you have the buyer's climax is okay, and it is at the stopping action of the markup before the change of behavior. Happy to be corrected. I don't know what he's talking about. Yeah, I think it's not a stopping action, PJ, because I mean, it is a stopping action. You're right in the amount of supply that entered, where this is the institutions attempting to stop the price. But the change of character occurred at the buyer's climax, which I think is the trading range at play here. So you're right. There's a stopping action in the volume. There was definitely institutions selling into this level, but the asset just got away on them, and that's, you know, because NFTs are so freaking bullish. So we made that buyer's climax. The stopping action can occur on the seller's climax or the buyer's climax, or it can occur on the preliminary support or the preliminary supply. The biggest thing to note is just that huge influx of supply entering the space and getting to the point where the price heads down at the change of character. So I think he's got it right. Okay, that's pretty much all the time I have. So a few newcomers into the group. So I want to welcome you guys. Thank you for joining the island, Blues private island here. And we really nurture education and helping you become a portfolio manager. We are all fund managers. We just need to sharpen up the skills so that we don't need to hand over our hard-earned dollars to other people that manipulate that system. If you put the work in and understand how to manage your own wealth, you're far better off, and you can often, you know, do what the hedge funds are doing and make a lot more money. So congratulations for taking that first step. I love the power that cryptocurrency gives the people, and just the interest that the people that are drawn to this market right now have, because a lot of the people that are in this space right now, they already kind of have an entrepreneurial spirit. They understand that they want to be in control of their life, and it'll be sad when it's just normal markets and normal people inside of the space. But I still think we're early days, and this is a fantastic skill to have. Build wealth over time, learn to manage a portfolio year after year after year after year. That's what we teach, that's what we nurture. And we can also find some coins that you can FOMO into too. But yeah, thanks all for the for joining into the virtual classroom, and that's pretty much it. We will see you guys in the chat. Oh, real quick, peer review charts for those who are new. When you go through the materials, first go into tutorial videos, just kind of get the basics of the Wyckoff method down in this tab. We got all the videos that'll kind of get you up to speed to the basics of it. And then when you think that you can make a chart, even if it's not necessarily Wyckoff, I would prefer to keep things Wyckoff in here because this is kind of the goal. But, you know, as you're learning, just kind of give us what you know, and we'll try and turn it into we'll try and interpret it through the lens of the Wyckoff method. Put them in peer review charts. Also, if you have any topics of discussion that you want to be addressed in these virtual classrooms, just leave it in the chat. Hey, this is a question for the virtual classroom, blah, 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 blah. Kind of like how standard practice did here as well. Okay, so that's all the time, and we will stop the recording here. And yeah, thank you all for